The first thing everyone noticed was not the little girl crying in the crowded city park. It was the powerful CEO kneeling in the grass with tears in her own eyes while a worn-out single father stood frozen just a few feet away, unable to understand why one of the wealthiest women in the state was comforting his daughter as if she had known her forever. The whispers spread through the afternoon crowd before anyone knew the truth, and what happened next would change 3 broken lives in ways no one could have imagined. If you believe kindness can heal invisible wounds, forgiveness can rebuild shattered hearts, and hope deserves a second chance, please like this video, leave a comment, share this story with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to our channel so our community can continue sharing emotional journeys that remind us humanity is still alive. Graham Mercer had spent 4 years learning how to smile without feeling happy. Ever since his wife passed away after a sudden illness, every sunrise had become another promise to his 7-year-old daughter, Nora, that everything would somehow be okay. He worked as a groundskeeper for a large botanical estate on the edge of the city, trimming hedges, planting flowers, repairing fountains, and making beautiful places for people who rarely noticed the man doing the work. His hands carried permanent scratches from roses, his back ached almost every afternoon, and his clothes always smelled faintly of fresh soil, but he never complained because every paycheck meant school lunches, warm clothes, and another month of keeping the tiny apartment that had become their safe place. Nora understood more than Graham realized. She never asked for expensive toys, never complained when dinner was simple, and always pretended not to notice when her father skipped dessert because there wasn't enough for both of them. She had inherited her mother's gentle heart and possessed the strange ability to make strangers smile simply by speaking to them. Every afternoon after school, she waited on a bench near the estate while Graham finished his work. She brought library books, colored quietly, and waved to every gardener as though they were lifelong friends. Across the city, Celeste Rowan had everything money could purchase except the one thing she secretly wished for every day. She had built Rowan Living into one of the country's fastest-growing architecture and environmental design companies. Her name appeared in business magazines, conferences invited her to speak, and investors admired her fearless decisions. Yet every interview ended the same way. Someone always asked why she had never married or started a family. She always answered with a polished smile about focusing on her career, but the truth was far more painful. Years earlier she had devoted every waking hour to building success, believing there would always be time for love later. Later had quietly disappeared. One bright spring afternoon, Celeste visited the botanical estate to inspect a partnership project her company had funded. Executives followed behind her carrying tablets, discussing budgets and schedules, but she barely listened. Her attention drifted toward the laughter of children visiting with their schools. She envied how naturally happiness came to them. Near the main fountain, Nora accidentally dropped a handmade paper butterfly into the water. She reached too far trying to retrieve it and nearly slipped before Graham caught her just in time. The butterfly floated away anyway, and Nora's disappointed face broke something inside Celeste. Without thinking about appearances or status, she removed her expensive shoes, stepped carefully into the shallow fountain, rescued the soggy butterfly, and handed it back with a smile. Nora hugged the butterfly tightly as though it were priceless. Graham thanked the elegant stranger, embarrassed by the attention. As they walked together toward the pathway, he noticed curious looks from employees and visitors. Trying to avoid awkward rumors, he laughed nervously and quietly remarked that she should be careful because people would think they were together. Celeste looked toward the crowd, then back at Graham with a warm, thoughtful smile that reached her eyes. She wondered aloud whether that would really be such a bad thing. The sentence stayed with Graham long after she walked away. He assumed she had simply been kind. People from different worlds crossed paths for a moment and then returned to their own lives. That was how life usually worked. A week later, the estate manager announced that the company funding the renovation wanted to feature real employees in promotional photographs celebrating the restoration project. Graham reluctantly agreed after learning every participant would receive a generous bonus. Nora was invited as well because the photographers wanted authentic family moments among the gardens. When Graham arrived, he was shocked to discover Celeste personally directing the event. Unlike many executives, she greeted every worker by name after memorizing the staff list. She thanked gardeners, maintenance crews, cleaners, and security guards before speaking to anyone in management. During breaks, Nora wandered beside Celeste asking endless questions about buildings, flowers, and birds. Instead of becoming impatient, Celeste answered every one with genuine curiosity. Graham watched from a distance, noticing how naturally his daughter laughed around someone she had known only briefly. As the afternoon passed, several executives quietly questioned why their CEO spent so much time talking with a groundskeeper and his child. Rumors began spreading through the company before the event even ended. Some assumed Graham was seeking favors. Others believed Celeste was creating publicity. Neither assumption was true. Over the following months, Celeste found reasons to revisit the estate. Sometimes she reviewed construction updates. Sometimes she inspected landscaping. Sometimes she simply wanted a peaceful walk away from boardrooms filled with endless negotiations. Nearly every visit ended with a conversation beside the gardens where Graham shared stories about plants, seasons, and the surprising resilience of nature. He never treated her like a celebrity. She never treated him like an employee beneath her. Their friendship grew quietly. Then the whispers became louder. Employees joked that Graham had somehow charmed one of the most influential women in the country. Parents at Nora's school speculated endlessly. Social media photographs from public events fueled even stranger theories. Graham became uncomfortable. He valued his dignity more than attention. One afternoon he gently explained that people seemed convinced something romantic was happening between them. He worried the gossip might damage her reputation. Celeste answered with calm honesty. Reputation built on pretending to be someone else was never worth protecting. That conversation marked the beginning of something neither had expected. Still, fear remained. Graham worried about the enormous differences between them. He drove an old truck that rattled every morning. She traveled in luxury vehicles surrounded by assistants. He counted grocery prices. She negotiated million-dollar contracts before lunch. He believed people like him belonged in the background. Celeste disagreed. She had spent years surrounded by polished appearances only to discover character could never be purchased. Graham possessed quiet integrity that many successful people lacked completely. Their friendship deepened, but life rarely rewards happiness without testing it first. A sensational online article accused Celeste of manipulating publicity by pretending to care about ordinary workers. Investors questioned her judgment. Board members urged her to distance herself from Graham immediately. At the same time, Graham's supervisor privately suggested that continuing the friendship might cost him his position because management disliked unwanted attention. For the first time, both considered walking away. Neither wanted the other to suffer. Days passed without contact. Nora noticed immediately. The cheerful little girl who usually filled every afternoon with questions became strangely quiet. Finally she admitted she missed the lady who always remembered her favorite flowers and never spoke down to children. Those innocent words forced Graham to examine his own fears. He realized he had spent years believing grief made him unworthy of happiness. Meanwhile, Celeste attended another exhausting board meeting where profits mattered more than people. Listening to endless discussions about image and public perception, she suddenly understood how lonely success had become. That afternoon she canceled the remaining meetings and drove herself back to the botanical estate. She found Graham planting young oak trees beneath a bright blue sky. Without cameras. Without reporters. Without executives. Just honest work beneath the afternoon sun. She apologized for allowing public pressure to create distance. He apologized for assuming their different lives made friendship impossible. Neither apology erased every problem, but both restored trust. Months later, disaster struck when severe daytime storms damaged large sections of the botanical estate. Historic gardens flooded. Ancient trees collapsed. Public funding fell short of the enormous restoration costs. Many believed the damage would permanently close the gardens. Celeste surprised everyone. Instead of writing a simple donation check, she brought hundreds of volunteers from her company to work beside gardeners, teachers, students, retirees, and local families. Executives traded expensive suits for work gloves. Architects carried heavy branches. Accountants planted flowers. Graham coordinated restoration teams with remarkable leadership that no one had previously recognized. Watching him organize hundreds of volunteers with patience and quiet confidence, Celeste realized true leadership had never required an executive title. News organizations covered the restoration effort. This time the headlines were different. Instead of gossip about rumors, journalists focused on a community rebuilding something beautiful together. During the reopening celebration held beneath brilliant afternoon sunshine, the mayor publicly thanked every volunteer. Then, unexpectedly, he invited Graham onto the stage to recognize the man whose steady guidance had united everyone during the restoration. Graham froze. Crowds terrified him. Before he could refuse, Nora squeezed his hand with absolute confidence. He stepped forward. Instead of speaking about himself, he thanked every unseen worker who cared for places others enjoyed without noticing the effort behind them. He spoke about kindness growing exactly like gardens, one small act at a time. By the end of his short speech, hundreds of people stood applauding. Many wiped away tears. Celeste watched proudly from the audience. She finally understood that greatness often wore muddy boots instead of polished shoes. As the applause faded, Nora hugged both adults at once, laughing with the uncomplicated joy only children possess. No one whispered anymore. No one judged appearances. People simply saw three human beings whose lives had become stronger because compassion had overcome fear. Before we reach the end of this story, take a moment to leave a meaningful comment sharing whether you believe genuine kindness should matter more than social status, wealth, or public opinion. Your thoughts may encourage someone who needs courage to choose compassion today. The following spring, another community celebration filled the gardens with families enjoying sunshine, blooming flowers, and fresh beginnings. Graham no longer apologized for standing beside Celeste. Celeste no longer worried about what strangers assumed. They had learned that the strongest relationships are built not on matching backgrounds but on matching values. Nora ran happily between flower beds carrying a basket of paper butterflies, handing one to every child she met because she believed everyone deserved something beautiful to take home. The little paper butterfly that had once floated away in a fountain had become a quiet symbol of their journey. Fragile things could survive if someone cared enough to rescue them. Broken hearts could bloom again if given patience. Lonely lives could become full through ordinary acts of courage. And love, in its truest form, often arrived not with dramatic promises but with small choices repeated every single day beneath the light of hope. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Thank you for being part of our community, where every story reminds us that kindness is never weakness, forgiveness is never wasted, and second chances can transform lives when we are brave enough to believe in them.